I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I'm just going to lay it all out straight because I need to get this off my chest. So, about a month ago, my wife Lisa and I went on a family vacation with my brother Jake and his wife Emily. We've done trips like this before, and honestly, I thought everything was fine. Lisa and I had our usual bickering here and there, nothing unusual. She's always been kinda bitchy, quick to lie her way out of things, but I'd always shrugged it off because she's good at it. The trip started out okay, but pretty quickly I started noticing things were off. Lisa was acting weird around Jake, more touchy, more flirtatious. At first, I brushed it off as my own insecurities, but then I caught her giving him this long, lingering look every time she thought I wasn't paying attention. And I did pay attention, more than I wanted to, honestly. She'd laugh at his stupid jokes but avoid me, and I swear I saw her texting during the dinners, hiding her phone like she was doing something she did. Want me to see? But the real shocker happened in the middle of the trip when I finally decided to check Jake's phone after he left it unattended for a second. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just wanted to see if he had any messages from Emily or someone else, typical guy curiosity. Instead, I saw something I wasn't prepared for. There were a ton of texts between Jake and Lisa, and not the usual playful stuff. No, these were explicit. They were talking about sex, about meeting up, and even details about how they'd keep it secret during the trip. My stomach dropped. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My wife, the woman I've loved and trusted, was cheating on me during our family vacation with my own brother. I stared at the phone in disbelief, my mind racing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the messages were so clear. They were planning to meet up that night. I felt like I was suffocating, like someone had punched me in the gut. My first instinct was to confront Jake right there, but I knew I had to keep calm. I grabbed my phone, took a screenshot of the messages, and decided I'd confront Lisa as soon as I had a chance. The whole world suddenly felt like it was crashing down around me. I had no idea how I was going to face her or my brother after that. The rest of the day was a blur. I walked around in a daze, trying to process what I'd seen. She was acting normal, well, as normal as she ever was, laughing with everyone, pretending everything was fine. But I knew better. I knew the truth now. The woman I thought I knew was betraying me, and she was doing it with Jake, of all people. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she look at me and carry on as if nothing was wrong? That's when I started feeling the anger boiling inside me. Not just anger, but this deep-seated betrayal that I knew would change everything. And I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know what I was going to say yet. All I knew was that my world was about to shatter. That evening, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything I'd seen, the messages, her face, the way she was acting like nothing was wrong. I sat on the balcony of the hotel room, staring out at the dark ocean, trying to hold myself together. I knew I had to talk to her, but I also knew once I did, nothing would be the same. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to face her right then, but I couldn't keep it bottled up either. I decided I'd wait until she went to bed, then bring it up. That way, I could see her reaction, catch her off guard. When Lisa finally came in, she was her usual bitchy self, smirking, throwing her hair, acting like she owned the place. I confronted her directly. I told her I knew about the messages. Her face froze for a second, then she laughed, that fake, dismissive laugh she always does when she's trying to play innocent. "What are you talking about, Mike? You're overthinking again. Just because I had a little fun with Jake doesn't mean I'm cheating on you. You're so paranoid sometimes," she said, twirling her hair. I could see the lie in her eyes, and it made my stomach turn. I pressed her harder. I showed her the screenshot, the proof I had. That's when she got defensive, started throwing out these ridiculous excuses. "It's just some stupid jokes, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Jake and I were just friends. You're blowing this all out of proportion because you're insecure. Honestly, I don't even know why I bother sometimes." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like she was annoyed I was even bothering her with this. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I told her I saw the messages, that I knew she was cheating, and I wanted the truth. Her response: she looked at me like I was crazy, then stormed off to the bathroom, muttering about how I was overreacting, how I was insecure, and that she didn't do anything wrong. That's when I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd trusted her for so long, and now I felt like a fool. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she cheat with my own brother and then pretend it was all just a joke? I wanted to scream, but I just stood there stunned. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage was falling apart. Right then and there, I knew I had to decide what to do next, but I couldn't even think clearly. All I felt was this burning, intense betrayal that was going to haunt me for a long, long time. The next morning, I barely slept. My head was pounding, and I kept replaying that night's confrontation over and over. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to keep my emotions in check. I knew I couldn't confront her again right away. I needed to think, to plan what I was going to do. But I also knew I couldn't keep this quiet, not with the way she lied and gaslit me last night. I decided I'd wait until she was out of the room, then sneak a look at her phone. Maybe there would be more proof, something concrete I could use. As she got ready for breakfast, I slipped into the bathroom, grabbed her purse, and started rummaging through it. I found her phone, unlocked it. God, I knew I was risking everything, but I couldn't just let her keep lying. I looked through her messages again, and that's when I saw something new. There were more texts. From Jake, not just the ones I'd seen, but recent ones from that same morning. They were talking about meeting up again, planning to see each other later that day. My stomach sank. How deep did this go? Were they planning to keep this secret even longer? I felt my blood boiling. I knew I had to act, but I wasn't sure how. I grabbed a screenshot of those new messages, then put her phone back where I found it, pretending I hadn't touched anything. I needed to confront her again, but this time with more leverage. I decided I'd wait until she was alone, then tell her I saw everything. I wasn't going to let her keep playing me for a fool. I sat in the corner of the room, trying to collect myself, feeling betrayed, angry, hurt, everything all at once. Meanwhile, she was downstairs, acting like everything was normal. Smiling, flirting with my brother, pretending she wasn't screwing around behind everyone's back. I couldn't believe how calm she was, how she could lie so easily. I felt like I was losing my mind. I thought about calling Jake, but I didn't want to ruin everything right then. I just wanted to be sure I had all the evidence before ripping her world apart. That's when I decided I'd record her, get her on camera admitting the affair, or at least revealing she knew I'd caught her. I knew it was sneaky, but I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after what I saw. I was starting to realize just how deep the deception ran. I thought this was just a fling, just some stupid mistake. But now I knew it was something more, something calculated and cold. My wife, Lisa, who I loved and trusted, was betraying me with my own brother during our family vacation. And she was lying about it every step of the way. That realization hit me harder than anything else. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. My world was shattered, and I was just waiting for the next move to finally bring everything crashing down. That afternoon, I finally made my decision. I couldn't keep going like this, pretending everything was normal while she was out there screwing around with my brother. I had enough evidence, screenshots, her texts, the way she acted around Jake, and I knew I had to confront her face to face, not just with words but with her own lies caught on camera. I slipped my phone into my pocket, turned on the voice recorder app, and waited for her to come back up to the room. I wanted her to admit everything, or at least slip up and tell me the truth. When she finally came up, she looked nervous, maybe sensing I was about to blow. I watched her, my heart pounding. She sat down, pretending to be innocent, all bitchy and dismissive. I didn't waste any time. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and told her I knew the truth. I showed her the screenshots, the recent texts from Jake, and asked her straightforward, "Lisa, are you screwing around with Jake? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Because I did. I saw everything." Her eyes widened for a second, then she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Oh, come on, Mike. You're just jealous because Jake's better in bed than you are. It's not a big deal. We're just having some fun. You're always so insecure, it's embarrassing." She crossed her arms, acting like she was above it all, but I could see the panic behind her eyes. She knew she was caught. I pressed her again, demanding an honest answer. She finally snapped, her voice rising in that bitchy tone. "Fine, yes, we did it. We've been screwing around for months, but what the hell does it matter? You're never there for me anyway. I was bored, and Jake, he's just better in bed. so don't act like I'm some kind of monster." She looked at me like I was supposed to feel sorry for her. Honestly, I felt sick. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. That's when I realized I couldn't stay with her anymore. Not after she lied so easily, so casually about something so painful. I turned off the recorder and looked her straight in the eyes. "You lied to my face. You cheated on me with my own brother during our family vacation. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me? I don't think I can ever trust you again." Her face twisted into a sneer. "Trust me? You never deserved my trust, Mike. I've been putting up with your crap for years. This is just the cherry on top." She got up, stormed out of the room, and slammed the door behind her. I sat there, stunned, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. All the anger, hurt, and confusion flooded through me. I felt like I was drowning in a mix of rage and heartbreak. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let her walk away after this. But part of me just wanted to break down and cry. Instead, I pulled out my phone again, started recording everything I could. I knew I had to document her reaction, her lies, her damn attitude. I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't want her to pretend it never happened. That night, I stayed awake, replaying everything in my head. The betrayal, the lies, the moment I realized the woman I loved had been screwing my brother behind my back. I knew my world was never going to be the same after this. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to forgive her, or if I even wanted to. All I knew was that I was done pretending, done playing nice. I had to figure out what my next move was, but right then, I just felt hollow, shattered, and more alone than I ever had before. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything except the betrayal burning in my chest. Every time I saw Lisa or even heard her voice, I felt this intense wave of anger mixed with sadness. I kept replaying everything: her lies, her sneering attitude, the fact that she'd cheated on me with my own brother during what was supposed to be a family vacation. It was like my entire world had been turned upside down overnight. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind was consumed with how to fix this, how to make sense of it all. I decided I had to talk to Jake. I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I needed to hear from him, get his side of things, and see if there was any way to salvage what was left of my pride. So I waited until he was alone, then approached him in the hotel lobby. I kept my voice calm, but inside I was burning. I told him I knew everything. His face went pale, but he quickly recovered, trying to act like it wasn't a big deal. "Look, Mike, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Lisa came onto me and I wasn't strong enough to say no. I screwed up, yeah, but it's not like I planned it. She's the one who's been pushing for this, not me." Hearing him say that made my blood boil even more. That was bullshit. I knew Lisa better than that. She manipulates, lies, and cheats with this cold, calculated attitude. I told Jake I didn't want to hear excuses, that I'd had enough. I told him I was done with both of them, that I was going to end this marriage, and I was going to make sure they both paid for what they'd done. I felt this surge of rage, a need to punish them both. After that, I decided I had to confront Lisa again. Not just to tell her I knew the truth, but to make her understand how deeply she'd hurt me. I sat her down in the same damn room, and this time I was cold. I laid it all out: her lies, her cheating, her betrayal. I told her I was done, that I was filing for divorce. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, trying to act like she didn't care, like she was above it all. But underneath I could see the panic. She knew she'd lost control. I took out the camera again, recording her reaction. I told her she could keep lying, but I had everything on tape now. Her sneers, her denial, her fake tears, whatever she threw at me, I had proof that she was a liar. I told her I was done playing her game, that I was going to make sure she paid for this betrayal, not just emotionally but legally too. I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore, not after she destroyed the trust I'd spent years building. As I sat there, recording her, I felt a strange mixture of relief and despair. Relief that I finally had the evidence, that I was taking control of my life again. But despair because I realized I'd lost the woman I loved, probably forever. I'd been betrayed by someone I trusted with everything, and now I had to pick up the pieces. This wasn't just about the cheating, it was about my whole sense of security, my self-worth, my future. It was like I'd been hit by a freight train and I was just trying to stay upright. I knew I'd have to make some hard decisions, but one thing was clear. I couldn't go back to the way things were. My world had shattered and I was left picking up the wreckage. The fallout was immediate and brutal. I told Lisa I was leaving. Not just the hotel, but the entire marriage. I packed my bags that night, and as I looked at her, her bitchy smirk replaced by a mixture of anger and fear, I felt nothing but a deep, cold emptiness. I knew I'd never trust her again, never see her the same way. She tried to plead, to manipulate, but I cut her off. I knew her game and I was done playing along. I told her I had everything recorded, every lie, every sneer, every moment she betrayed me, that I'd make sure her lies became her prison. The next morning I walked out that door, leaving her behind. I didn't look back. I knew I had to start over, rebuild from the wreckage of what she'd destroyed. I contacted a lawyer, filed for divorce, and began the slow process of healing. It was hard, so much anger, so much sadness, but I also felt a strange sense of liberation. I finally saw her for who she was, a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could cheat and lie her way through life without consequence. Over the following weeks, I cut ties with Jake too. I couldn't bear to see or hear about him anymore. I told him I never wanted to see him again, not after what he did to me and my marriage. I felt betrayed by both of them, and honestly, I didn't want their lies lingering in my life. I started focusing on myself, on my own mental health, and trying to find some sense of normalcy again. It wasn't easy. The pain lingered, but gradually, I felt some weight lift from my shoulders. Looking back now, I realize how much I learned from all this mess. Trust is fragile, and I was naive for thinking I could ever completely know someone. But I also learned that sometimes you have to cut out the lies and betrayal fast, or you risk losing yourself in the process. I wish I could say I'm fully healed, but I'm not. Not yet. But I do know this. I'll never let anyone cheat on me again, and I'll never ignore the signs of betrayal. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, I'll say this: trust yourself. When something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Confront it, face it head on, because if you don't, it will eat you alive. And never let anyone make you feel like you're overreacting, especially not someone who's lying through their teeth. You deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty. I may have lost a lot, but I'm finally starting to find myself again, and that's what matters most.